Welcome to Frank Ranks Week 5. We're at the Week 5 already. I read a bunch of comics this week. Let's see how they rate against one another. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thank you for spending time with me as we rant about movies, comic books, and television shows, as well as the occasional board game. I'm your host, Frank Zanca. I'm an award-winning screenwriter, novelist, and comic book writer, as well as a filmmaker. And yeah, we're going to be jumping into Week 5. I have 10 books this time, mostly because I bought a lot of Fantastic Four books, so I'm trying to get my John Byrne run going here from the Fantastic Four, so I bought a bunch of them. So we're going to see a bunch of Fantastic Four books that I'm going to just rate amongst themselves for the most part. And yeah, remember too to give me a like and give me a thumbs up and a subscribe if you can. Ring that bell. Also, remember it's the final week of the Green Hornet anthology with cover art by Matt Wagner, stories by Kevin J. Anderson, who wrote for Doom, Timothy Zahn, who created Thrawn for Star Wars, interior art, because we have chapter art by Dennis Calero from Marvel Noir. Pile of great talented people involved in this. And this is like a one-time thing because they do come with a signature as well as the interior art that you're not going to see in stores. So definitely jump in on this. We're about to unlock a second alternate cover as well by Dennis Calero. So check out the link in the description below or go to greenhornetnoir.com. And definitely jump in there now before it ends. So let's jump into my list of books that I've read and how I've ranked them this week from 1 to 10. So falling at the end of this whole list of 10 is number 10, and that would be Thorin Grunbuck's Catwoman. This is a really bad run. The last storyline was bad. She's continuing the bad storyline into a new storyline, which makes no sense, about this German mobster group that she worked with back in the day that is killing off her aliases, like people that she took their aliases of, and they're killing her off to get her attention and brought her to the country so that they could kill her. I don't know. It doesn't feel like Catwoman at all. It just keeps going. So we have a bad storyline and you're just going with it. And then you got to stop that stuff and create something new. If you're already 3 or 4 issues in, cut that thing and move on. All right. Going for number 9. Number 9, we have a Marvel book, Storm. Same thing. It doesn't feel like Storm. She's now like a goddess fighting against Doom, who is is Sorcerer Supreme, because that's going to the one world under Doom, this event that I don't care about. And 60% of the book is about the Living Tribunal and Eternity and Oblivion all having their thing going on. So Storm isn't even in 60% of their own book. It's weird. The whole thing is just weird and there's plenty you can do with Storm, with her, taking over the Morlocks, when she fought Callisto, stuff with the X-Men, maybe some villain that she's got to deal with on her own. But her becoming this godly creature, I don't know. It's stupid. It doesn't feel like her, and it doesn't need to be her own storyline. Some people said this was good. I'm like, that's why reason I picked it up, but it's not. It's definitely not. Okay, number 8, Zatanna. So the artwork in here is really good because it's written by the artist. And the artist is a normal DC artist, or I assume that he freelances across the board. But it doesn't have the setup that you need to write a comic. So it starts out with her, preparing for this magic show that she's going to be putting on. And then all of a sudden, they're talking about this picture, this painting of this Lady White character, and then suddenly they're whisked to another world. It's like, I'm like, where did this come from? So it's just all over the place. And then you start out with this thing about this shadow, this princess that has her shadow that's constantly crying. I don't know it's all very confusing, and this Lady White character and everything like that. But we needed setup, and there's just no setup for anything. It's just like, here it is, guys. All right, so now we're gonna jump into my many facets of Fantastic Four. So number 7, this is the first John Byrne, not writing, but drawing. And we have Herbie. So this was Herbie from the cartoon. They decided to put him into the comic. So the reason why they had Herbie in the cartoon, which is not what they said here. What they said here was that Johnny was away on vacation, and they needed to get, scans of him for the artists or whatever else. And he wasn't around to do it, so they created this other character instead, which is Herbie. That's not really the case. The case is that they were afraid that the kids were trying to emulate Johnny, which is also one of the books I'm going to get to in a second. And they were afraid about the fire thing. And they decided to not have a fire guy in the cartoon. That was the reason they created Herbie. But this is about the Skrulls and this whole battle taking place, and they need to find Galactus. So they go off to look for Galactus, and that's why this is at the bottom of the list, is because this is a filler issue. So they're going off to look for Galactus, but they get side-railed, and they end up fighting these bug creatures. But that's basically this book. And I do enjoy them, hanging out together and doing this adventure. And, they find this, like a prison ship or whatever else. And the guard, who's also a bug, dies. And Ben says, no, we've got to put these guys back in their cell because they killed him. So that's what happened there. Then we have, I forgot, this is number 201. So that's 209. This is 201. So this has nothing to do with John Byrne on this one. But this is, they had defeated Doom, and suddenly all these things, all these security elements inside the Baxter building go nuts. And they start taking them all out. To where they have to work together to get around all of these malfunctions that are going on. Again, it feels like another filler issue, but this one is very action-packed. I'll give it that. Okay, and now we're going to move into a DC book. Number 5, Titans in Love. It's Titans, but it's in love. So this is the story of Deathstroke, who has a bunch of mind guys, which somehow Clock King is a mind guy now, which I don't understand. And he is kind of trying to control Raven. He's mind controlling some other people too. Like he made one of the villains really hate the Titans and come after them. And now he's pushing Raven, who's an empath, and not only does she feel, but she can also exude emotions. And we have people kissing all over the place. Donna and Arsenal kiss, but then they realize that it had nothing to do with Raven. And then they bring Raven to Star Labs, where they have Bumblebee, who's suddenly now a scientist, and is going to try to help her from exuding these emotions. Except that in the final page, we see that it's Psycho Pirate that's in the control room, and Bumblebee's knocked out. So anyway, I like what's going on there, but there's a lot of problems. Like Dick shouldn't be is no longer the leader, but he's still part of the group, and that's causing problems. As far as plot's concerned. Okay, number 4. Going back to Fantastic Four, and this is John Byrne. This is 275, and I'm running out of space on this thing here. So this one's just funny. Okay, it looks like Stan Lee there, right? Doesn't it? It looks like Stan Lee. But this is just a humorous issue because it's about this guy who has like a porn mag kind of thing, and he finds out that that Jen sunbathes. Now, I don't know why you'd be sunbathing when your skin is green, but hey, whatever. So she's sunbathing on the roof of the Baxter building, and when she does, she lays on her stomach and she undoes her top. So he has the helicopter. He's in a helicopter, this guy. He pays the helicopter guy to come up and blow her, right? So she has no choice but to get up, and when she gets up, the blanket goes, her top goes, everything goes, and he's taking pictures. So he escapes with these pictures. So now the whole rest of the thing is with She-Hulk trying to track down this guy with his pictures and make sure that they don't get published. But in the end, they do get published. But when they do, the guy who's doing color correction didn't realize that it was Jen, or it was She-Hulk. So he color corrected it to not be green. So nobody knew who she was anyway. Very funny. All right, number 3. Continuing with Fantastic Four and the John Byrne run. This is Secret Wars 2. So this is after Secret Wars 2. Number 285. So this is kind of going off John Byrne from what we did earlier with the Herbie thing. This is obviously years later. But he wanted to touch on the fact that the kids would see Johnny Storm and then try to put themselves on fire. So he delved into that. So we go from a funny issue to a very, very dark, macabre storyline where there's a kid being bullied in school, and Johnny Storm is that's his hero. And he collects everything that Johnny Storm is in, and this bully has a magazine that he doesn't have, and the bully says, "Oh, you have to do my homework," and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, the kid, and then he gets the magazine gets confiscated by the teacher on top of that. So he goes to see this guy that he kind of hangs out with, who's making remote airplanes, and he's making his own, and he's using this fuel that he created, and it's highly flammable. So he ends up, he leaves the kid alone, and the kid, I guess, ignites himself on fire, and to be the Human Torch. And Johnny finds out about it and visits the kid at the hospital, and the kid dies while he's there. I guess it was a month. That's what it says, that the kid was in this body burn, thing, this burn ward. If you've never been to the burn ward, it is the most horrific thing you've ever seen, and smelled for that matter. It is horrific. And but anyway, so I guess the kid lived for a month, that's bad within itself. It's torturous. And so anyways, the kid dies while he's there, and he decides he's not going to be the Human Torch anymore. And I forgot, though, the Beyonder ends up, which is why it's a Secret Wars 2 tie-in, that the Beyonder shows up and takes him back in time to the kid, or at least shows him. He can't interact. He didn't actually get back in time. It's just a reality thing. And he says, yes, but without you, the kid died because of you. That is true. However, the kid also lived because of you. Because without you, he would have had a more bleak existence. So with that knowledge, he goes back to being Human Torch, but it still heavily affected him. So that's the message here. So very, very strong book. Highly recommend if you read it. All right, and number 2. Fantastic Four, number 287. So this was the story of Peggy, as you can see. Very odd cover. And this is after Doom has been atomized. And Doom is trying to wake his way back because he switched bodies as he was getting atomized with Peggy's husband. And Peggy's husband then, now having Doom's mind, he's making a suit for himself to try to get back into the Laverian embassy, but can't do so because his biometrics doesn't match anymore. So he keeps Peggy and the kid, and his kid, but it's not really his kid, cooped up in the house. So basically she is held hostage in her own house until he makes his suit and then goes after the Latvian embassy, of which he talks, which I don't know how he'd even know they were there. I didn't even think about that. But She-Hulk and Sue Storm are there, and they help him, not realizing it's Doom, to get into the embassy because he says that his wife and kid is being held hostage in there. So once they get in there, he reveals that he's Doom, and he knocks Sue. Well, Peggy knocks Sue out, and instead of killing her, which he could very obviously do, but he doesn't, he calls the other Fantastic Four, and Johnny is out on a date with Alicia because he's backstabbing his best friend, and I assume that's why the Thing is not with them. And so he leaves, and I don't know what happens from there. But all I do know is that 289 is the last Byrne book. So he's got 2 issues to clear this up, and I think he's off the book. All right, and then number 1 for the week, G.I. Joe. I really like what Joshua Williams is doing here. It's been a long time since I've read a really good G.I. Joe book, and I like it. I like what's going on here. I like the fact that Cobra's winning throughout this whole thing. They get more wins than G.I. Joe does, and I like it. I like how how they have everything set up, and the fact that Duke gives himself up because he's afraid of having collateral damage on the street. And then on top of that, he reveals at the end, he says, I have him right where I want him. And also, the Baroness is part of G.I. Joe at this time, so she's a good guy. And she says, oh, well, our backup is here, but it's not ours. It's Cobra's backup. So there's some good stuff in there. I really like what's going on in this book. And I read a couple of things digitally as well, but we had a big one this week, so I'll save that for next. They're actually next week's books anyway. All right, well, that's it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Remember to give me a like, give me a thumbs up if you can. And also, if you can subscribe, please do. Ring that bell, ding, ding. And then, remember that's our last week for the Green Hornet anthology hardcover book. We also have it digitally as well, and it's we have a bunch. I think we have almost like a dozen, maybe it's 10 different writers on this thing, including Timothy Zahn, Kevin J. Anderson, Bill Willingham, Keith Candido, just a pile of them, and the cover art by Matt Wagner from Batman. Interior art, which we're about to unlock another cover art piece, also by Dennis Calero. Interior chapter art by Dennis Calero. It's going to be amazing. Anyway, click the link description below or go to greenhornetnoir.com. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great week.